6 years after the release of The Fall, an album I'd argue for the most part was overshadowed by Plastic Beach, the Gorillaz are back with a new album they call HUMANZ. And people's reaction to said album? Well... 2015 and 2017 has probably been some of the most controversial years in recent history. An unstable political structure combined with a fractured political opinion, not to mention the man in the big White House being a controversial figure all of his own. People feel a little bit on edge right now. You'd think this would be a good time for the Gorillaz to shine. But like so many times in art, there seems to be a difference between what works good on paper and actual reception of said finished product. But just like with Revenge of the Sith, I Am Legend, and Pay It Forward, an overall good piece of art or even an awesome return can be damaged by one or two issues that don't mix well with the audience. And from the Gorillaz, those two glaring issues went by the names of Hallelujah Money and Let Me Out. I'll have links in the description so you can listen to the videos for yourself. While the song Hallelujah Money isn't technically part of the HUMANZ album per se, it was meant to give fans a sneak peek of what was to come, as well as cash in on Trump's inauguration, and get people excited about the gang's triumphant return. And it kind of backfired. Look, I'm not trying to say people didn't like Hallelujah Money. People did. But the song does have one of the most controversial like to dislike ratios of any video the Gorillaz has put on so far. And looking at the comments section only seems to confirm that what was meant to help increase hype had instead left people mixed, confused, and some even offended. This wasn't exactly helped by the fact the song makes references to Donald Trump about as subtle as getting hit over the head with a mallet so large Bugs Bunny would feel ashamed. Another thing people complained about was that they felt like there was a certain lack of, Gorillaz. Benjamin Clementine took center stage of this song, and Gorillaz' black-eyed singer was reduced to little more than backup vocals. Then, with the end of March, came the release of the music video Sirens Bars. The video received overwhelming critical praise on YouTube, with fans once again admiring Jamie Hewitt's surreal art style and Damien Albarn's soothing vocals. People actually felt like this is the beginning of the gang's triumphant return. And then on April 6th, Gorillaz released another song on YouTube called Let Me Out. And boy, if you felt like Hallelujah Money's political messages were like getting hit over the head with the cartoon mallet mentioned above, then Let Me Out is like getting hit over the head by a semi-truck. The opening lines of the beginning of the song are, Mama Mavis, oh mama, they try my patience, Obama is gone, who is left to save us? So together we mourn, I'm praying for my neighbors, they say the devil's at work, and Trump is calling favors. While the video's like to dislike ratio wasn't as controversial as Hallelujah Money's, the comments section seemed to express an entirely different story. Comments ranged from accusing Gorillaz of selling out to the mainstream media, while others were saying that if people didn't like this song, they obviously weren't true Gorillaz fans, because this is the kind of thing the Gorillaz were all about. I have my own personal biases I'll probably express in another video, but I will say this. Within a few hours of the video getting uploaded, the Trump and Obama references quickly became censored by car horns. There's a lot of theories as to why this occurred, but if I had my own personal guess, I'd say they saw the controversy brewing and realized they mucked up. So, what went wrong? I mean, really, the Gorillaz have not entered any new territory when it comes to political commentary. They're certainly not noobs when it comes to collaboration. Really, there should be no reason why HUMANZ hasn't gotten a similar reception to say that of like Demon Days. Yet, you can tell from the web there seems to be a little bit of uncertainty among fans. So, what happened? One thing to keep in mind about the Gorillaz is that they are an experimental group. They always have been, and they always will be. They're always changing things up, always taking risks, and even bands with a set style of music have their albums that occasionally don't make the mark. Also keep in mind that their last really big album, which I'd argue was Plastic Beach, was made about 7 or 8 years ago. The time span between Plastic Beach and HUMANZ is almost the time span it took for them to release their first 3 albums combined, and a lot has changed since then. Which leads to another problem, and I'd argue the biggest problem this album faces: political timing. Demon Days and Plastic Beach had their own political and social commentary, sure, i.e. Dirty Harry and Jellyfish Superfast. Seriously, try saying that 3 times fast. Jellyfish Superfast, Jellyfish Superfast, Jellyfish Superfast. Anyway, arguably, How Will You Money's and Let Me Out's older cousin, yet people don't feel quite as threatened with the former as they do the latter. Why is that? Well, I can't argue for everyone, but I can argue that if my own reactions are anything to go by, it's a change in circumstances. For one, Demon Days was released a decade ago. Just think about that. 2, Demon Days never dropped direct names, or at least not as far as I'm aware. What they were known for dropping is more circumstances and subtle cultural references. 2, people were less divided. By the time Demon Days came around, Bush had already started to wear out his welcome on both sides by his second term, and people on both sides of the right and the left could at least agree that they were becoming war-weary, even if it was for different reasons. That's what it seemed to be in my personal experience. You can list in the comment section if you had a different experience, but anyway. And then came a little something called social justice. While this had already begun to take shape by the end of Bush's second term and the beginning of Obama's first term, it really began taking full force by his second term. Anyone who didn't agree with radical progressivism was automatically deemed racist, sexist, homophobic, bigot, insert buzzword here. Protests quickly turned into a war zone, such as what happened in Berkeley, and even people on the radical right started to pop out of the woodwork again. Many people felt that rather than try to rebuke the radicals, the Democrats were trying to pander to them, and the Republicans were absolutely spineless against them. And as the radical war dogs bit harder and harder, people felt more and more cornered. And people who feel cornered tend to fight back even harder. Then came Donald Trump with his speeches that appealed to the population as a whole and spoke of nationalism and problems that people felt like needed addressing. And to this day, the media tries to skewer him every chance they get. Every mainstream media outlet seems to despise him. Nearly every major music group and entertainer seems to hate him. Whether such hatred is warranted or not is beside the point. The point is, people took it personal. So when comes Gorillaz with a very similar anti-Trump message that the rest of the mainstream media has been delivering, it strikes a nerve with people. The Gorillaz music, for many, rightly or wrongly, is a kind of escapism from mainstream media and culture. And they're probably thinking, of all the people to hop onto the name-calling train, Gorillaz would have been the last group from their minds to do that. As while they had discussed about political circumstances, they never called out names. Again, at least as far as I'm aware. I think had this album been released during Bush's presidency, like at a time when he was at his least popular, then it probably would have been better received. As it is, people feel a little bit on edge right now. This album also really isn't helped by the fact that many, including myself, feel like this album kind of has the Gorillaz being the backup singers rather than the main stars of their own group. Sure, they've always done collaborations up to this point, and heck, if you look at Dirty Harry, 2D sings like 5 lines over and over again, while the main meat of the song actually comes from Booty Brown. But even when 2D is simply singing the chorus, he gives out a very strong and distinct voice, such as what we hear in November Has Come from Demon Days. Compare that to Hallelujah Money, and something just feels, off. Does that mean HUMANZ is a bad album? Well, keep in mind the full album doesn't come out till the 28th, and we have yet to see fully what it has in store for us. And I'll admit, just on the sample music alone, there are some songs I really enjoyed. Saturn Spars has a really catchy beat and tune, as well as a top-of-the-line video, with the clip from Murdoch I'm certain is going to become a meme, and I love the 80s feel of We Got the Power. But there are definitely reasons why some of this album is receiving backlash like a bad boomerang. And I think the men behind the curtain realized that too little too late, as evidenced when they censored the names on their Let Me Out video mere hours after it was uploaded. But to be fair, we need to keep in mind that behind the curtain of the Gorillaz are 2 guys with their own opinions and viewpoints. Notice how a lot of times the more ham-fisted commentary comes more from the collab artists than the Gorillaz themselves? Considering what all crap they've been through, I really doubt the likes of Noodle and Murdoch really give a crap about American politics. And heck, Trump seems like someone Murdoch would actually like. I mean, seriously, no one sees a resemblance? At all? Maybe a little? I still think the songs leave a bad taste in people's mouth, but I think before people start raising the pitchforks and torches, we need to keep in mind that the real gorillas, are in fact humans. So ultimately, my first impression of Humans so far is that it's a decent album, albeit flawed, marred by bad timing, unstable political culture, human fallibility, and ultimately experimentation that has left people split. That doesn't mean it's going to kill them. Heck, if Motorhead, Queen, and freaking Michael Jackson can have their own controversial Black Sheep albums, I'm sure the girls will still keep on kicking long after Trump is in the history books. By the way, Noodle's still hot. I'm Pigsy, and may the Bath be with you.